All right, good evening, everybody. This is the show you've been waiting for, the Friday night edition of Social Distancing or Happy Hour, depending on which you prefer. As always, Chamber CEO Glenn with us. Glenn, welcome. How are you doing?
Doing well. Today was an extremely important day. The House passed the CARES Act. The president signed it. It's the law of the land, biggest rescue package in the history of the country.
All right, so we know that our viewers already know this. Just to back up, earlier this week, you and I did a show talking about how important it was for the Senate to get the deal done. The Senate passed it 96-0. You issued a column that night saying it's time for the House to do its job. A little bit of wrangling, but it got done. Voice vote today.
Voice vote today. President signs today, and now all systems need to go on the implementation phase of this bill. It's $2.2 trillion, and it probably can leverage up to an additional $4 trillion of commercial activity.
So the big bill is called the CARES Act, and we can talk about that. But there's a subsection within it called the Paycheck Protection Program that you are especially excited about.
It's the single most potent tool ever passed by the United States Congress to help small business. In short, it's really a 2-month grant for businesses, 500 and fewer people. And it also includes sole proprietors, independent contractors, self-employed, to help them bridge this storm. It's basically a 2-month loan that converts to a grant so long as they're spending the dollars on payroll, utilities, rent, things like that.
Yeah, you and I have been on a number of conference calls to the implementation of this bill, and calling this program a loan program almost doesn't do it justice, does it?
No, it really doesn't, Garrick. It's really a grant, and it's probably not even going to go through the SBA. It's really the whole point of this program is for small businesses to use the banks that they're comfortable with. And basically, I mean, this is how fast it's supposed to work, according to some of the officials at the Department of Treasury, is that you have the relationship with your bank. You virtually, probably at this point, go into your bank, apply for the loan, and boom, that same day, you come out with that loan, which is largely convertible into a grant to help you get through the next couple months, keep people employed, and to help you pay your bills, your rent, your utilities, and things like that.
You make an important point because many of us are familiar with Small Business Administration loans. A number of lenders out there are authorized to issue those loans. This is on a separate track. This is really, if you're a bank, credit union, lending institution, you're going to be able to lend with the federal government standing behind these loans. Is that right?
Exactly, Garrick. This is 100% federally guaranteed. Most SBA loans are 75%. This is 100%. And what's going to happen is that if you're a bank or lending facility that's authorized under 7A, you're automatically in. But that's not where this is going to stop. Treasury is going to expand this out broadly to other lending institutions. They want this to be, again, they want the businesses to be able to go and use the banks or lending institutions that they traditionally bank with, or other ones even.
Now, to talk about the SBA track just for a second here, if you want to pursue an SBA loan, you can, because the CARES Act expands the disaster loan program. And in fact, in the application process, the new expanded program will front you $10,000 just right out the door.
Yeah, so that could be useful to entities that, for whatever reason, don't qualify for the new loan. So there's trade associations, C6s, for example, that may not qualify or don't qualify for the new loans. They could use that SBA mechanism. But for the vast majority of small businesses, 500 or fewer, independent contractors, small proprietors, or individual units of chain restaurants or hotels, this is the tool for you. It's just much more powerful than the existing SBA program, even though the existing SBA program has been enhanced.
we'll talk about phone call we did with Senator McSally in just a second, but something that you brought up in that call, and you brought it up on last night's show with Kim Sabo from the Lodging and Tourism Association, disaggregating individual locations is a really important program because hotels, for example, they're not all owned by the Hilton Corporation. These are individual proprietors who have bought into that model. Talk about that.
Right. So example, if you're Best Western, they're not adding up all the different Best Western units. It's unit by unit. So that's very powerful. You're the Cheesecake Factory. It's restaurant by restaurant. They're not adding it up. So that's really important. And the other thing, Garrick, is how easy this is. So it's basically the honor standard. You need to say as a business that you've been hurt by COVID-19, and then so long as you're 500 or fewer, you're basically eligible. You don't have to put a personal guarantee on it. You don't have to have collateral. Really, all that you need to do is to be able to show that you had payroll in 2019. And so what I would urge all small businesses to do, like every single one in the state of Arizona to do over the weekend, is to really go over their payroll for 2019 and up to this point in 2020, because there's a formula that basically you get 2.5 times your monthly payroll. So it's about, and then you could use that for payroll, utilities, and other expenses, and all of those dollars are basically forgivable.
Right. Yeah, incredibly
it's the deal
important.
Of the century. I don't know how else to put it. You have to do this. This is going to be the difference between a lot of businesses staying in business or going out of business. This is the single best opportunity out there to preserve Arizona's small business community. And we believe there's over $5.5 billion worth of federal assistance that could flow into the state if all of the businesses that are eligible take advantage of this new program.
Talk a little bit about the CARES Act in toto for a second, because Glenn, you know it. It's a big number. In your column, though, you were talking earlier this week. It's a big number because it's a big challenge.
Well, it's the biggest challenge we've ever had. I call it declaring World War III on the coronavirus. This is a world war. Every country in the world is engaged in this. We're just fighting an invisible virus that's deadly. So this 2.2 trillion is about 10% of our GDP. But what's important here is that this is something that is temporary. That if we deal with this head on and preserve our businesses, as well as fortify our hospitals and healthcare system, we're going to get through this. We'll get to the other side of this. But this is the type of thing where if we didn't take this action, literally our entire country would be in jeopardy.
Earlier today, we convened a call of our Public Affairs Committee and the Arizona Manufacturers Council, had a couple of special guests, Representative Regina Cobb, who chairs the House Appropriations Committee. Also very pleased to welcome again special guest Senator Martha McSally. While we were on the call, she announced that the House had just adopted the bill. That was fortuitous timing, but I know you've just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the congressional delegation throughout this.
Well, it was so important to see our congressional delegation and really Congress in total come together. This is a world war type of dangerous situation. We need to be united here. And it's very important, that this is one, if we're not coming together to meet the challenge as a united nation, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So, I want to thank, we had, you mentioned Senator McSally earlier today.
Yep.
She not only has been someone that has been in constant communication with us, she played a very important role in sections of that bill we haven't even really discussed a lot. All the resources that are going to be useful for the tribes in Arizona across the country, as well as some of the business provisions. So.
Yeah, very pleased to see this result. All right, last topic, Glenn. I know it seems like ancient history, but it was only last week. I'm looking at a column here in the Republic
Okay.
from Bob Robb. Headline, Glenn, passing slim budget was the right step. I just wanted to bring that up because you wrote about this earlier in the week that the legislature did the right thing. Stop, no politics, set the games aside. Let's just get a budget, get out. But something you talked about with maximum flexibility.
Yeah, the legislature, wow, they did a great job this year. I'm so proud of them. They came together, Republicans and Democrats, passed a skinny budget, but included $50 million to give to the discretion of Governor Ducey to help him in his efforts to fight the virus. But I want to thank you, Garrick, year after year, no matter what's going on, even if it's the pandemic situation, you deliver great results every single year. And we were very lucky also that Courtney Coolidge and Tom Ducey rose to the occasion, and we were able to get a lot of things through that were very important to our members before the bell rung.
Yeah, that's a good one. We should talk a little bit about that next week on a show about what did the legislature get done, even though it came to an abrupt halt. Not too shabby for a session, even though it ended sooner rather than expected.
They made a lot of progress, and I'm just proud of how they concluded their work. It was a model, and it was a little bit like the drought contingency plan, where you think about it. Our legislature last year came together. It seemed to be something that translated on the federal side, and there were some similarities here. Our legislature showed how you could come together, and fortunately, it was a little bit turbulent. Our United States Congress joined together and passed perhaps the most important legislation in the history of the United States of America.
I like that. That's a good comparison, the way they were able to tie this up in a bow and do the right thing. I like that comparison. All right, viewers, make sure you're following us on social media. Glenn is at Glenn Hammer. The chamber is at AZ Chamber. Go to chamberbusinessnews.com/coronavirus. Glenn.
I have to say one final thing. My incredible gratitude to the incredible work of the U.S. Chamber. Neil Bradley and team, Sarah Armstrong, that entire team has been burning the candle on both ends. And the results that they have delivered for the job creators should last a lifetime. I mean, it's incredible, and just the constant communication that they've provided to us and to all the chambers in the country. I'm just eternally grateful.
Absolutely. If you follow our chamber on Twitter, if you follow Glenn, all of these resources that the U.S. Chamber is issuing, that Glenn's talking about, they're all up on social media. So if it's coming out of the U.S. Chamber, you'll see it through our feed as well as the coronavirus resource page. So I want to echo Glenn's comments there. All right, Glenn, it's the weekend. You're gonna get out of the house this weekend? You're probably not going very far. A few walks around the neighborhood, probably.
You walks around the neighborhood. If you see a guy in a chamber shirt walking around the neighborhood, say hi, but from 6 feet away, please. How about you?
That's right. All right. Well, please tune in for next week's editions, usually about the same time, sometime in the happy hour, dinner hour. We try to get these posted. We'll have more guests on as well. There's always something new. Glenn, we hope you have a good weekend.
Garrick, you as well.